by a
Targoviste,
true
a
military
campaign
mastermind.
shaped by a true military mastermind. In 1462, the Ottoman Empire advanced north with an army nearing 100,000 men. The goal seemed straightforward. Overwhelm a small principality defended by barely 10,000 soldiers and force it back under Ottoman authority. By every conventional measure, this should have been a swift, one-sided operation. But it wasn't. Because one commander transformed Ottoman confidence into something far more dangerous. Fear. Raids struck without warning, then melted back into the darkness before any response could form. Soldiers vanished. Sleep itself became a liability. And rumors began to circulate. Stories that Ottoman troops would carry with them for the rest of their lives. What began as a bold, unstoppable march slowly decayed into hesitation. The army grew exhausted, hungry, and afraid. This was not a war decided by numbers. It was a war fought in the mind. And its impact would echo for centuries. By 1462, the balance of power in Eastern Europe no longer seemed debatable. The Ottoman Empire appeared unstoppable. Constantinople had fallen less than 10 years earlier, and the city that once anchored the Christian world now stood as Ottoman Istanbul. Sultan Mehmed II was young, brilliant, merciless, and convinced history was bending in only one direction, forward, under his command. From the Aegean to the Balkans, resistance collapsed one territory at a time. Kingdoms submitted, princes negotiated, tribute flowed south. The Danube ceased to be a true barrier and became a frontier existing solely by the Sultan's tolerance. Wallachia survived only because of that tolerance. It was a small, poor principality north of the Danube, trapped between powerful neighbors and constant danger. Its rulers did not win wars. They endured them. Tribute was paid to the Ottomans. Hostages were sent to Istanbul. Power was exercised carefully, with the knowledge that a single misstep could erase an entire dynasty from history. For decades, this fragile system held until Vlad III took the throne. Vlad did not view tribute as survival. He saw it as surrender stretched over time. Having grown up within the Ottoman court, he understood their power, their discipline, and their methods. But he understood something else just as clearly. Wallachia would never be secure as long as it depended on another ruler's patience. So Vlad defied the system. Tribute payments stopped arriving on schedule. Hostages were no longer delivered. Ottoman outposts south of the Danube were attacked. Raids not meant to seize land, but to send a signal. Wallachia was no longer obedient. To Mehmed II, this was more than rebellion. It was open defiance. Allowing a minor prince to challenge Ottoman authority risked unraveling the entire frontier. Other rulers would begin to hesitate. Borders would stiffen. The illusion of inevitability, the empire's greatest weapon, would fracture. So Mehmed chose war. Not a rushed reprisal, but a carefully staged demonstration of power. The Ottoman army was assembled with deliberate excess. Infantry, cavalry, engineers, artillery, a force designed not just to defeat Vlad, but to make an example of him. Cannons were prepared to flatten fortifications. Supply trains were organized to sustain a deep advance north. The orders were clear. Remove Vlad, install a compliant ruler, restore the old order. This was how empires resolved problems. From Mehmed's perspective, the outcome was already settled. Wallachia lacked manpower. It lacked wealth. And it certainly lacked the strength to face the full weight of the Ottoman state in open battle. The campaign was expected to be brief, decisive, almost routine. What Mehmed did not fully grasp was the kind of war Vlad was preparing. Vlad had no intention of meeting the Ottoman army on its terms. As the Ottoman columns moved north, Vlad recognized a brutal truth. He could not confront them directly, not even once. The force entering Wallachia was not merely larger. It was engineered for open warfare. Tens of thousands of soldiers, heavy cavalry built to shatter formations. Elite infantry trained to hold under pressure. Cannons capable of dismantling cities. Engineers skilled in reducing defenses piece by piece. If Vlad assembled his men in open ground, the result was inevitable. They would be surrounded, shelled, and destroyed in a single afternoon. Even stone walls offered no real safety. Mehmed II had already conquered Constantinople. Northern fortresses would not stop him. So Vlad accepted what strength and numbers could not achieve. He would survive only by refusing to fight the kind of war the Ottomans expected.
Psychological and guerrilla
That decision shaped everything that followed.
Ottomans.
Weeks before the main Ottoman army arrived, Vlad began reshaping the land they would cross. He studied the routes an army of that size had to use: wide roads for wagons, solid river crossings for artillery, paths avoiding marshes and dense forests. Then he emptied them. Villages along these routes were cleared deliberately and methodically. Families were ordered to leave early, under discipline rather than panic. They carried what they could. Everything else was removed or destroyed. Grain was taken north or burned in the fields. Livestock was driven away under armed guard. Mills were smashed to prevent flour production. Nothing was left that could sustain an imperial army. Wells were dealt with last. Some were lightly poisoned. Others were filled with earth or animal remains. A soldier who saw a corpse in a well would not drink, no matter how desperate. Bridges were damaged, but not entirely destroyed. Heavy wagons and cannons had to cross slowly, one at a time. Each delay forced the army to halt, reorganize, and wait. And an army forced to wait grows tired. A tired army grows careless. At the same time, Vlad shattered his own forces into fragments. There would be no single Wallachian army standing together. Instead, his men operated in small mounted bands, rarely more than a few dozen riders. Each group moved through terrain they had known since childhood. Forests that swallowed sound, hills that concealed motion, marshes that seemed firm until weight dragged men under. Their orders were not glorious. They were practical. Do not hold ground. Do not chase victory. Do not seek battle. Strike only when escape is guaranteed. Ottoman scouts vanished. Messengers between units never arrived. Foraging parties disappeared without trace. At night, supply wagons burned, not in spectacular waves, but one here, one there. Just enough to deny the army any sense of safety. Ambushes were swift and savage. A patrol entered a narrow forest path. Arrows struck from both sides. Horses screamed. The fight ended in seconds. When reinforcements arrived, nothing remained but bodies and silence. As the days passed, the physical toll mounted. Soldiers marched longer routes to avoid familiar roads. They slept in armor, knowing attacks came after dark. Food grew scarce. Water became suspect. Feet blistered. Horses weakened. Wounds festered. Discipline tightened. Punishments grew harsher. Order was enforced through fear, and fear spread. Yet Vlad understood exhaustion alone would not break an army like this. Something more was required. So the stories moved ahead of the Ottoman columns. Not shouted threats, not official warnings. Stories told by survivors. Not every patrol was wiped out. One or two men were always allowed to escape. They returned shaken, repeating the same details. They said they were hunted, not fought. They spoke of prisoners taken alive, of punishments that did not come quickly, of men made to wait, knowing what was coming. They described bodies displayed along roads and crossroads, raised upright so no one could avoid seeing them. No one knew how much of it was true, and that uncertainty was the point. A soldier who believes capture means death can still fight. A soldier who believes it means something worse begins to imagine. And imagination follows him everywhere. On night watch, at the well, and he falls behind on the march. Fear does not shout. It whispers. As the Ottoman army pushed deeper into Wallachia, the land gave them nothing. The enemy refused to stand, and the consequences of failure felt distant, undefined, and terrifying. Vlad never stopped watching. His scouts studied Ottoman camps as they formed. They learned guard rotations. They saw which units relaxed first after long marches. They noticed where confidence replaced caution. Vlad was not planning a battle. He was waiting for a moment. A night when exhaustion, routine, and fear arrive together. Because when certainty disappears, even the strongest army becomes vulnerable. And that moment was drawing closer. After days of relentless marching under constant harassment, the Ottoman army finally halts. The men are worn down, the horses gaunt, nerves stretched thin. Orders spread through the ranks to establish camp. Tents rise in long, orderly lines across the plain. Fires are lit. Food is prepared. Armor is loosened. For the first time in days, soldiers allow themselves to believe they might sleep without being jolted awake by screams in the dark.
The Wallachians
From the Ottoman perspective, the pause feels justified. The land ahead appears quieter. The raids have grown less frequent. Wallachia seems spent, drained of strength. The army is deep in hostile territory, yet nothing stands openly in its path. And that is exactly the moment Vlad has been waiting for. He does not strike when the Ottomans are alert. He does not strike when fear is raw and sharp. He strikes when exhaustion dulls instinct. Vlad has been observing this camp long before the first tent is raised. His scouts have tracked the army hour by hour, learning which units arrive early, which lag behind, which guards remain vigilant, and which trust sheer size to keep them safe. He studies the camp as it takes shape, where the perimeter thins, where fires cluster too tightly, where command tents stand just a little apart, defended more by reputation than readiness. Above all, waits for routine. The first night, soldiers remain tense. The second, they loosen. By the third, they think they understand the danger. That is the night he chooses. The plan is shared with few words. It does not need explanation. Each group knows its task, its route, its timing. Even if communication fails, the attack will proceed. This is deliberate. Shouted orders inside an enemy camp would mean instant death. Just after midnight, the Wallachians move. They advance without torches, without sound, riding slowly enough to avoid attention. They wear Ottoman clothing taken in earlier raids, not disguises meant to survive close scrutiny, only enough to pass in the darkness among exhausted men. The first sentries notice movement and hesitate. Too many soldiers walk the camp at night for every shadow to be challenged. The camp is vast. Confidence replaces caution. The riders slip past the outer ring. Inside, the camp is awake but careless. Fires glow low. Guards sit instead of stand. Some men sleep with weapons beside them. Others have set them just out of reach. Still, Vlad's men do not strike. They move deeper, closer to the center, where tents press together, and the heart of the army rests. Every step now carries danger. Every sound feels too loud. A single shout could collapse everything. Then the silence shatters, not with horns or battle cries, but with fire. Torches arc through the dark and land on canvas. Flames erupt instantly, racing across dry fabric and oil-soaked ground. At the same moment, horses are cut loose. They bolt in terror, crashing through ropes and tents, trampling men still half asleep. The camp erupts into chaos. Soldiers wake choking on smoke, clawing for weapons they cannot find. Officers bark commands that clash and overlap. Units collide, unsure who is attacking or from where. Shadows flicker everywhere. And inside that storm, Vlad pushes forward. This is the most dangerous moment of the entire campaign. If the Wallachians hesitate, they die. If they slow, they are surrounded. They drive toward the command sector. cutting down isolated guards, striking quickly, and moving on. The goal is not slaughter. The goal is the center, where the Sultan's presence draws the tightest protection. The closer they get, the heavier the resistance becomes. Ottoman elite guards form defensive knots. Steel collides in suffocating spaces. There is no room for wide sweep. Blades scrape shields. Men fall beneath roofs. Firelight flickers across faces twisted by confusion and fury. For long minutes, no one can tell who is winning. Vlad presses on regardless. He is not advancing blindly. He knows the layout by heart, the placement of command tents, the layers of defense, the paths through the camp. Every heartbeat counts. Every delay narrows the chance of escape. Somewhere ahead, the Sultan is awake now. The sense of safety is gone. Orders ripple outward. The Ottoman core begins to stabilize. The window is closing, and Vlad knows it. This assault was never meant to last until dawn. It was meant to make a point. And as the fighting reaches its peak, Vlad prepares the order that will decide whether this night becomes legend or disaster. The capital still lies ahead, and the war is far from over. The battle does not end neatly. It unravels. Within the Ottoman camp, chaos shifts shape. Fires still burn, but guards begin to form ranks. Commands are no longer screamed at random. Drums beat in sharp, controlled bursts, pulling men back toward order. The Ottoman course is waking fully now. Vlad senses the change before he sees it. This is the moment every raid balances on. Stay too long, and daring becomes entrapment. Withdraw too soon, and the strike loses its meaning. Vlad waits just long enough. Then he gives the signal. Not a shout, but a movement. Small units peel away, slipping into darkness, making contact before pursuit can close in. Some Wallachians withdraw cleanly. Others fight their way out. In tight corridors between tents, blades clash at arm's length. Horses scream as they are struck or driven through firelight. Men stumble over bodies. Ropes snap, poles collapse, smoke blinds. Sparks sear skin. The Ottomans pursue, but with discipline. They have learned. Elite units move in compact groups, sealing escape routes, forcing the Wallachians to scatter even further. What began as an organized withdrawal turns into a test of instinct and nerve. This is no longer about reaching the Sultan. It is about surviving the night. Vlad rides with the last wave. He stays visible just long enough to draw attention away from men slipping out elsewhere. He understands the power of presence and becoming the threat that must be answered. Then, at the edge of the camp, he turns. The darkness beyond closes around him. By the time Ottoman cavalry reaches the perimeter, the attackers are gone, dissolved into forest, marsh, and broken ground, and pursuit means losing formation and life. Inside the camp, the night drags on. Fires are beaten down. Wounded men cry out until they fall silent. Officers count units and find absences that will never be filled. The ground is strewn with weapons dropped in panic, armor cut away to run faster. The army still stands, but it is no longer whole. When the eastern sky finally begins to pale, the damage becomes clear. Not simply in numbers, but in meaning. Men were killed in their sleep. Guards died without sounding alarms. The heart of the camp was reached, touched, violated. Mehmed II stands with his officers, listening. He does not rage. He does not shout. He understands exactly what this night was meant to achieve. This was not an attempt to destroy his army. It was a warning. Vlad has demonstrated that no distance is safe. No formation is untouchable. No ruler is beyond reach. At sunrise, Mehmed orders the march to continue. But something fundamental has changed. The army moved forward, yet every man now knows that the night belongs to Wallachia, and Târgoviște still lies ahead. At first light, The columns advance again.
Keep the
Orders are
formation
followed.
tight and
Lines hold. From the outside, the Ottoman host still appears unstoppable. But inside, the change is
keep moving,
unmistakable.
brothers.
Voices are quieter. Fires are watched, not trusted. Guards no longer sit, they stand, eyes fixed on the dark edges of the land. Even in daylight, no one laughs.
Doomed.
The road to Târgoviște is short now. Too short for comfort. As the army advances, there are no more attacks, no arrows, no riders on the horizon. The land gives nothing, no resistance, no surrender. It feels deliberately empty, and that emptiness weighs heavily on the mind. When the first Ottoman scouts reach the outskirts of the capital, they rein in their horses. What lies ahead does not make sense at first. Then it does. Beyond the road that cuts through the fields toward Târgoviște, the land is no longer empty. Wooden stakes rise from the soil hundreds at first, and thousands. Each one bears a body. They are not piled or concealed. They are set with intention, arranged in long ordered rows facing the route the Ottoman army must follow. Some figures still wear armor. Others are dressed plainly. Some are unmistakably soldiers. Others clearly are not. Many have been dead for days, their bodies darkened and rigid. Others are recent enough that the agony they endured is still written across their forms. This is no battlefield. It is a spectacle. The Ottoman vanguard halts. The news ripples backward through the ranks, faster than any shouted order. Soldiers slow, then stop altogether. Horses shy from the stench. Even veteran officers struggle to describe what lies before them. This is not the result of disorder or chance. It is discipline made visible. Mehmed II rides forward to witness it himself. He does not avert his gaze. He does not turn away. The meaning is immediately clear to him. This is not meant to block the road the stakes can be passed. The city still lies beyond. This is meant to shatter momentum. Every man who advances must walk between the dead, breathe their smell, and picture himself in their place, silent, exposed, erased. For the first time in the campaign, the Ottoman army feels watched, measured, judged. Inside Târgoviște, there is nothing waiting.
The attack
No
at
defenders,
Targoviste.
no civilians, no stores of food. The city has been emptied with the same cold calculation applied to the countryside. Supplies
Empty.
removed, warehouses
Empty.
stripped bare,
Absolute.
streets silent, doors creaking in the wind. The capital has been reduced to a hollow shell. Mehmed orders it occupied regardless. Standards are raised and units take their positions, but there is no celebration, no sense of triumph. The Ottomans hold the capital of Wallachia, yet nothing feels complete. Vlad has not been captured. He has not surrendered. He has offered no terms. He has simply disappeared, leaving behind proof of how far he is willing to go and how long he is prepared to wait. That night, in a city that should feel conquered, the Ottoman camp is unnervingly quiet, too quiet. And Mehmed understands something his generals do not say aloud. An army can seize a city, but it cannot force a man like Vlad to fight on its terms. The nature of the war has shifted again, and the price of remaining is beginning to rise. Holding Târgoviște does not end the conflict. Mehmed knows this. The city is empty. The surrounding land offers nothing. Every supply must be dragged from far behind along roads that are never truly secure. Each night still belongs to the forests. Every shadow still feels alive. An empire can occupy ground, but it cannot occupy uncertainty. Mehmed weighs his choices carefully. Staying longer means hunger, sickness, and steady attrition. Advancing further means stretching an army already worn down by a campaign that refuses to behave like a conventional war. And Vlad remains free. He has not been beaten in open battle. He has not been compelled to negotiate. He exists somewhere beyond reach, supported by a population that fears him as much as it fears the Ottomans, and therefore betrays neither easily. This is not defeat in the traditional sense,
I don't know, my
but it is
Pasha.
not victory
The
either.
fog hide.
The purpose of the campaign was never merely to seize a city. It was to eliminate a problem permanently, to replace Vlad with a compliant ruler, restore tribute, and return predictability to the Danube frontier. That goal has not been achieved. So Mehmed makes a decision emperors rarely proclaim openly. He withdraws. The army abandons Târgoviște and marches south once more across a land that still offers no comfort. The campaign ends not in catastrophe, but in exhaustion and with a lesson that will endure. Vlad does not pursue openly. He does not need to. His aim was never to annihilate the Ottoman army. It was to make occupation intolerable, to show that Wallachia cannot be held without paying a cost far greater than it is worth. In that, he succeeds.
If
In
we
the
attack
months
the
and
camp
years that
directly,
follow,
many will die.
Vlad's
More
position
will die
weakens
if we do
politically.
nothing.
He gains enemies, loses allies, and is eventually undone not directly by the Ottomans, but by shifting loyalties and the brutal mechanics of regional power. History does not grant him a peaceful ending, but it remembers him.
Have you heard
Across
the rumors
Europe,
from Târgoviște?
news of the
They say
campaign
thousands
spreads
were
not as a
impaled.
tale of
80,000
conquest,
Ottomans.
but as a story
This
of
changes the
resistance
balance of
taken to
power.
its extreme. Of a ruler who understood that fear, once unleashed, can stall even an empire, if only for a time. To some,
They will
Vlad
witness
becomes a
true
monster.
darkness.
To
They may be
others,
many,
a defender.
but this is
To
our
many,
land.
a warning. Centuries later,
Attack
his
in the
name
night.
survives in myth
Show them
distorted,
no mercy.
simplified, stripped from the
Wallachia
land
will
and
not
the war that
fall.
shaped it.
Keep
But in
moving.
1462,
Eyes front.
at Târgoviște,
We must reach
there was
the
nothing
city by
mythical
nightfall.
about what occurred.
Regardless.
There was only a small country, a ruthless ruler, and a mighty empire forced to accept that power does not always advance in straight lines. Sometimes it hesitates. Sometimes it turns back. And sometimes it remembers a road it will never walk quite the same way again.